Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition. It's episode 119, and it's September 14th, 2021. I am Gavin Pickin, Senior Developer of Order Solutions, and Eric Peterson, another Senior Developer for Order Solutions, as my co-host. Welcome, Eric.
Thanks, Gavin. Glad to be here.
Yep, it's getting a little crazy. Next week's Into the Box, but we'll talk a bit about that a little bit sooner. But Into the Box next week obviously is brought to you by Order Solutions, and they're our sponsor for the podcast, so let's give them a little thank you.
Woohoo!
Yep, so some ways you can say thanks back to Orders for doing this podcast and all the other things that they do for the community: Cold Box, Command Box, FORGEBOX, Test Box, and we should probably put our toot our own horn box, because it feels like that sometimes. But so we thank Orders for all those things that they do for the community, and if you want to say thank you back to them, you can do it a few different ways. One, the easiest probably way is just to go to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe to our videos. Hopefully you're watching the video live today and talking to us in chat, but if you aren't, please go like and subscribe on YouTube. We also have free and paid accounts on CFCasts, which releases new content every week. And if you want to get the Into the Box videos after the Into the Box, that's a great place to get it, is up on CFCast.com. You can also become an ITB sponsor. So we are looking for sponsors for Into the Box. You get your own little videos to be played in between the sessions, and a couple other things put up on our website. So you can get information on how to become an ITB sponsor at intothebox.org. And we also have a book. Order's new book is 102 Cold Box HMVC Quick Tips and Tricks. And we really want to get the new one from Brad written, so you guys need to stop bugging Brad every day on Twitter. Brad, when's the 103 Quick Tips and Tricks for Command Box? Because we really want that out too. So, but yeah. So those are some of the ways you can say thank you back to Orders, and a lot of those are free. And so just a little time, a couple of clicks, and it makes us happy. We also have awesome Patreon supporters that are paying their hard-earned money to support us. And we have 38 Patreons providing 100% of the funding for this podcast. We're also 41% of the way to our next goal, which is fully funding our package management site, which is FORGEBOX.io. So right now we're paying for, some of the hosting and some of the development, but really we want to, get to that next level, and then we can do a lot more with FORGEBOX. And if you're not using FORGEBOX, check it out, and we'll share with you the module of the week later on. Okay. Oh, one more thing. Annual memberships are available for Patreon now too if you want to save 10%. So, okay, that's the spiel. Now we get into the show. So, news and events. Are you ready for the first announcement, Eric?
I am. Let's do it.
So, the special Into the Box announcement, ITB 2021 is now hybrid. So,
that's right.
Yep. The COVID numbers have gone up, not just steadily, but sharply. And so we had to make a decision, and we decided to offer a hybrid conference. So basically, if you are not able or not willing to attend in person, you'll be able to get online streaming tickets, so you can check it all live online from the comfort of your own home or office or wherever you might be.
That's right. And of course, if you do get a ticket, whether in person or virtual, you'll also have access to the recordings afterwards on CFCasts.
Yep.
And speaking of CFCasts, we have a little promotion going on right now. Not a little promotion, a big promotion. If you sign up for a year subscription to CFCasts by September 22nd, you will get a free virtual ticket to Into the Box.
Very cool. So yeah, you can check them out live right there. And we will basically email you the virtual ticket if you get the subscription purchase by that deadline. The way it's going to work is very similar to last year's Into the Box. I'm Do you know if we're using Sococo or any other of the conference software? I know we're going to have Zoom to actually power the sessions, but do we have any virtual conference stuff, or are we deciding that
I'm
very soon?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
So we'll get back to you about that one as soon as we can. But another special announcement about Into the Box. Because Into the Box is next week, there will be no podcast next week because we'll be too busy getting everything ready for the conference. So we will be back after the conference, so the following week. So don't come try and tune into a live podcast next week because we won't be here.
But you can tune in a few days after that to live conference sessions.
Yes, exactly. So you get plenty of content. So get your ticket. Okay, and then the next one is, I didn't even see this anywhere. I just happened to fall upon it. But Adobe ColdFusion released a bunch of updates today for 2021 and 2018. So I haven't seen any tweets or nothing on the Twitterverse, but apparently they had a blog post out and saying they've got new releases. And so they are bundling installers for Update 2 and JDK 11.0.11.
Anything besides the normal security updates?
I didn't go through all the details. Usually they have a lot of documentation, but there's nothing that was spelled out on the blog post that I could see. Usually we get a Charlie blog post, but I think it's so new that Charlie hasn't even had time to write a blog post about it yet. But he usually goes into detail and sort of spells it out for us. But you can see here they've got information about it. And then, so if you want to find out what was actually updated, you can see there. But there were some CF setup enhancements, some licensing and activation, and AWS Lambda updates as well. And
looks like a bunch of bug fixes too if you go through at the bottom. So make sure to check these out to see if your pet bug was fixed.
Yep. Oh, so Charlie did stop adding notes here. Okay. So he's already commenting. He hasn't had a blog post yet, but he's already commenting. So great work as usual, Charlie. Yep. So yeah, but if you saw as we quickly sort of shuffled through that page, you might have noticed there was another announcement in there as well.
Yeah, I saw this the other day. I think again from Charlie. The CF2021 Docker images are finally up on DockerHub.
Yep. And if you go to the website as well, you'll see that they're actually uploading 2018 as well. So Charlie's blog post again talks about it, tells you a lot about the Docker images and how to get more about using it. But yeah, a lot of good stuff on actual. The hub
it's
itself.
Interesting. They have a different image names for these. So they have a ColdFusion image name, which is presumably for 2021, and then they have a ColdFusion 2018 image as well instead of using tags. So just something to be aware of.
Yep, and they have the ColdFusion 2018 add-on separately, and the PMT 2018 and the PMT. So it looks like the most recent ones are just their own repos, and the old versions, have the 2018 sort of added on to the name. Yeah. We actually have 4 downloads of the ColdFusion add-ons and 7 of the ColdFusion 2018s, 29 of normal ColdFusion. So they're out there. Some people are starting to use them, but hopefully you guys can spread the word that the Docker images are in DockerHub finally, as we've been asking for months and months. So very cool. And thanks again to Charlie for highlighting that for us. But if you do want to find more of the ColdFusion Adobe information, if you go to coldfusion.adobe.com, that's where all the, that's the portal. It's got a lot of the news, blogs, etc. They just don't always tweet everything. They seem to put more on Facebook than Twitter, to be honest. So if you're on Twitter, you probably want to make sure you go to the site. If you're on Facebook, you might see some. But anyways.
One big support update here in the 2021 release that Charlie pointed out is support for macOS Big Sur. I find that slightly ironic, seeing that we're almost on 12 now, but it's here. So if you've been waiting for that or haven't been using Command Box to get around all that, you can. ColdFusion 2021 Update 2 supports Big Sur.
That is good. Very cool. Okay. So next up, we have Adobe One Day Workshop, the Adobe Cold Fusion Workshop with Damien Brunos. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry, but it's going to be from 9 to 1700 hours, CEST European time. So 9 to 5 for those who can't do, military time, 24-hour clock. So yeah, but if you go to coldfusionworkshop.meetus.adobeevents.com, you can get more information on that workshop and how to sign up to it. And on the same day, Mark Takat is doing his Adobe webinar, Hidden the Clouds, installing Cold Fusion on Azure and AWS. And that's going to be September 22nd, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time.
So if you want to go for the marathon, you probably can do both of those. I haven't done the time zone math yet, but you can probably stay up and watch both.
Yep. Yeah, I wonder what time It's probably good. You probably could do both. And then most of the time, Adobe is putting their webinars on the website, so you can check them out. I just don't know about the workshops, if they're available after the fact or not. I haven't seen them, so we'll have to look at that. Yeah, and Charlie's saying he agrees about the tags. It's surprising they didn't do that, but anyway, they're going work there. So I'm excited about that. I know a lot of people say they're not doing it properly if they're not on DockerHub, but that's not the case completely. Okay, enough chitter chatter with the news. Let's get into some CFCast content.
Yeah, we keep releasing up and running with Quick. We're up to step 8 and 9. So the step 8 exercise and solution are up, and then we go into belongs to many relationships, as well as the exercise for that one.
Yep.
So that keeps coming. Again, there's 13 steps, I believe. I should know this because I wrote it.
13 exercises.
13. So.
Yep. So lots of good content coming there. My presentation is going to be on quick APIs. So I've actually been watching the video series to make sure I don't miss anything and make a fool of myself in my presentation. But so it's good quality, and I'm just waiting for more so I can keep on consuming it. It's really good.
Yeah, another nice thing, if you are either in person or virtual at Into the Box, Friday, last session of the day, I'll be going over some advanced quick tips and tricks and patterns. So if you've been following along with this workshop, you're going to be right ready to learn all of those new advanced patterns. So I hope to see you there.
I'll be there. So
there we go. I got one person.
Yep. I've been using Quick a lot in my recent projects. I've been bugging Eric. He deserves a medal for just putting up with me and all my questions, but it's been good.
I'll look for that medal in the mail.
Yep. Will do.
Or a badge on the forum. Put up with Gavin.
Okay, so next up we have our conferences. So conferences and training, and next week is Into the Box 2021 hybrid, live in person in Texas and live online. So that's September 23rd and 24th. Intothebox.org. You can find out all the information about all the speakers, the sessions, and when they're going to be. And you can get tickets at itb2021.eventbrite.com. So remember, like Eric said before, CFCasts, if you sign up for an annual subscription before September 22nd, so the day before the conference, then you get that ITB Virtual ticket for free. So big win right there. Well, I was actually going to do the math and try and figure out, because I don't know how much the virtual ticket is even, to be honest. I haven't even looked. I'm going to go look right now and I'll tell you. But, I mean, if you wanted it live, you can probably get a good amount of CFCasts for the year included, you know?
We're racing the both tickets. It's $200, and the CFCast for the year is $275. I think.
So there you go. So you get basically buy your ticket and pay $75 more, and you get into the subscription for the whole year. And that way you can go back and watch last year's Into the Box stuff, which I've been watching as well. I've been watching a lot of those while I've been working late, and lots of great content. So, and the OOP course, I went through that Nolan did. I really enjoyed that one too. So we're gonna have to get more CFcast content out there because I'm actually consuming it too fast.
Well, the good news is you can always go back to the ones that you've forgotten at that point.
Yep.
It's like a reference manual.
Yep. Okay, we've talked a lot about Adobe today, and they have their Adobe ColdFusion Summit 2021 scheduled for later this year, right, Eric?
They do. December 7th and 8th. It will be virtual. It is free. You just have to register at cfsummit.vconfex. Yeah, we'll look for the link. Yeah, I'm excited to get their call for speakers. It's always a fun time to go to that conference. I am sad it's not in person. That's my favorite, but I totally understand. And it should be good. We're excited.
Yep, and it's free to register. Just go click the link here, and here's the link for those who actually want to see it. cfsummit.vconfig. Yeah, that's an interesting name. But yeah, we're curious to see who's going to be speaking, and we'll let you know in the coming weeks as we find out.
Yeah, it's important to note any speakers that you see on their site right now are past speakers.
Correct.
So that is not saying who is going to, just who has in the past.
Yep. A lot of times they'll reach out and email the previous speakers and remind them. So we'll make sure we share the links for the call for speakers when we see them. So
yep.
Very cool. And if you want to get more conferences, confs.tech is one of our favorite little sites for all of that. And you can find out all sorts of awesome things on there, whether it's JavaScript or even some terrible languages we probably shouldn't say online, but they've got all of it there. So
like what? You just said JavaScript.
I mean, there's other things that we don't even want to talk about on there as well. So a lot of different languages, and you can find out in person or online in person. So lots of great stuff in here. So, and Into the Box should be in there. Where is it? Did I miss it? 23, 24. There it is. I'm blind. Into the Box. Okay. Well, so that is our conference wrap up. So what do we have next? Next up, blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. So first up, we have the Adobe ColdFusion update. So we have that blog post, which we've already covered. Next up, we have a little series from Ben Adele. He's been busy. He's got 3 different blog posts. And we'll go in the most recent first, just to confuse you.
No, I reordered them for you.
Oh, you did?
They're in order now.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Because I got confused.
Yeah.
So Ben's dealing with queues, message queues, which there's a lot to unpack in message queues. At the simplest, it's basically a place where you can say, hey, I need to process this thing, and some other system or your same system just later can process it. So Ben's message queue that he's using here is Amazon SQS, stands for Simple Queue Service. I kind of laugh that all of Amazon stuff is simple, right? Simple storage, simple.
Amazon
whatever.
is not simple.
No. You can also use things like Rabbit. You can use a database as a message queue, though there's pros and cons in all of those. Again, someplace you put a message on to do something later, some data with it, and then you process it. So there's a lot to unpack in these. We'll let you go read them for yourself, but it goes over some different patterns, like how to encapsulate the Java SDK he's using with AWS, how to split these up in the separations of concerns for listening to new queue messages and sending them. And his last blog post is just kind of a quick tip about, in Lucy at least, the CF lock tag can return a result instead of just throwing an exception. And you can check if it succeeds and what the error message is, and then do something else instead of defensively. And it is impressive the things you can get done with it.
Yeah, and then we have that little module that Brad built, Stomp or whatever, to work with WebSockets, right?
Yep. So it uses RabbitMQ, and Rabbit has a plugin to listen to it with WebSockets. And so we can send a message from ColdFusion and have it appear up in the browser without having to refresh, which is pretty handy.
Yep, pretty
So
neat. So,
I also wanted to point out Ben's blog post goes over using the Java SDK. There is also a wonderful AWS CFML package up on ForgeBox, maintained by Mr. John Bearquist, who makes some of my favorite API wrappers. So I would definitely look at that
yep.
first if I were you, because I like Cold Fusion
Yeah, I've looked
modules
at do
better.
it. Yeah, I've looked at some of the SDK for AWS, and I mean, you can't really package them up and distribute them very well when they're like 400 megs or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So depending what you're using, yeah, I like the REST API stuff and the API modules that just a lot of those API wrapper modules are just using REST instead, so they're a lot lighter. They can still get a lot of the same things done. You just lose some of the Java-ness, obviously, but it's still pretty
Ben
cool.
actually mentioned in one of his posts that I'm trying to find the exact line, but that it took him, I think he said up to an hour just trying to get all the Java things like jiving. He had to convert a struct into, here it is. It took 20 minutes to get the basic CRUD operations working, and an entire hour to figure out how to read and write attributes. So just know that some of that comes with working with Java. It's very, very particular about the types you give it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, so that's a nice little series. Go check that out. As usual, very detailed. And I like the little videos too. It's very cool. And then Charlie gave us that blog post about the Adobe ColdFusion 2021 Docker images, now up on DockerHub. And as I mentioned, they've got newer ones up there as well. But we also have another blog post from Charlie, and he's been putting some new files up on the CFML repo that him and I sort of maintain, which basically means I host it and he maintains it. And by host it, I mean I point at a Google Drive folder. So he's doing a lot of work there. Yeah, thanks, Charlie, for your work there. One day I'll do some more on that, I swear. But so one of the things he wanted to share up there was default or initial CFadmin config files for like the neo asterisk.xml files. Because if you've ever toasted one of your machines and it just trashed all your XML files, this is a really handy reference now. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it basically does do a nice job of put in all those original files, and that way if you break something you can go grab them and sort of rebuild your stuff from there. So he's got links to the 2018 and 2021 files there, so that's pretty cool. So if you want to find out more information, he does have the CF community thread where it started, so you can see all the information he shared about it. It's a background on the issue, where he got the files, etc. But if you just want the files, you can just go grab them. Okay, so just following back, I see a comment from Charlie with the Ben's first post. He said that Adobe CF2021 does actually give you direct integration with AWS Simple Queue service. There's several things that Adobe 2021 does in the cloud now. So before you try and rebuild stuff or use a module, and if you're using Adobe 2021, check out those new options. So there are several things like using S3, etc., that Adobe ColdFusion tries to handle for you to make your life easier. So check out the new features and then report back to us. Okay, so what's up next, Eric?
Well, James gave us we're going to sneak it in as a freebie VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. Talking about non-breaking space highlighter. So it's an extension that he was using to show those pesky non-breaking space characters in your code, and others like that, the Unicode characters that look like they should be right but make everything break and that pull your hair out if you have hair,
Yep.
So it's an extension you can install. It will link to his tweet into the extension, and it just highlights them in the demo. It's a bright red box. Shows you this is probably not the character that you want.
Yep, and the reason he had so many in his code was because he was using Evernote for CFML code snippets. And I guess there is a new feature in the newer version of Evernote that actually has like a code block that doesn't mess with it so much. But I know even we're using Slack previously for some of our trainings, and I'd copy paste code into code blocks in Slack, and then I'd copy them in, and sometimes it would put interesting characters in. So some of these extensions are really good for that. So word of warning, whenever you're copying and pasting stuff from Word or anything else, that will usually mess with your code. So that's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a cool little tip, and maybe a hint not to use Evercode for your code snippets. Use one of the code snippet tools that are in VS Code, and then use settings sync to try and sync all your stuff around. So, okay. Well, that is our blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. Next up, let's find a job. No thanks, I already got one. I'm happy, but you might be looking for one. So if you are, go to getcfmljobs.com and check out the 9 new jobs they have listed this week. There might be a couple duplicates, just depending on where the jobs are posted. Sometimes it scrapes multiple sites and they look pretty similar. But as you can see, for those watching, we got a new one that just popped up. So the Cold Fusion developer at Herndon, Virginia. There was still a post on the 10th and the 11th for that as well. We have a Cold Fusion web developer for a SaaS provider at Remote. Interesting. We got another one in Virginia is really hiring right now. A senior Cold Fusion developer at Alexandria, Virginia. A couple positions in India as well. And then a developer at Ocean Isle Beach. And a couple in Oklahoma City as well. So, lots of good jobs there. Over 190 this year. So, lots of good opportunities there. And remember, get CFML jobs. You can follow them on Twitter as well and see them as they come fresh through your tweets. Very cool. Okay. So next up, we have FORGEBOX module of the week, and this is one that I didn't really know what it was, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I went to check it out. You want to tell us a little bit about this new module?
Yeah, it has a great name. This is UpChunk by Mr. Michael Bourne, and it is used for chunked uploads and also non-chunked uploads if you want. But you can think of this for services that will send you data in chunks instead of posting the entire thing at once. The canonical one I think of is like Drop Zone. So if you've ever had it on, there's a lot of examples of this, maybe not just Drop Zone, but where you can drag a file onto the page, let go of your mouse, and it just starts uploading. Gives you a nice progress bar and all that. So this is a way to handle that on the Cold Fusion side. Is that right? Am I getting it right?
And the cool thing about it is you can add a different upchunk vendor because it's using the abstract uploader. So basically, like a lot of ColdBox modules, we make it where you have a provider service. So you basically, if you want to add a new one, you just basically say, okay, I want to use this drop zone upchunk, or I want to use the uploader.js upchunk, and basically that new provider will handle that service. So the same functionality can be applied to new services as you add them, and then if you share them, it'll even be better.
Yeah, so if you're using any of those services or something like it that's going to send you data in chunks, this can help you manage that complexity.
Yeah.
So UpChunk.
I was originally thinking it was for S3 because I know that when it uploads it does chunks sometimes too, but then I saw Drop Zone, I was like, ooh. I remember using Drop Zone, having to build my own and everything.
Yeah. So I believe this is specifically to handle chunks being sent to your Cold Fusion application, not necessarily sending it to another one.
Yep, makes sense. So, very
maybe
cool.
Maybe UpChunk can handle that one, or we can come up with another fun name for when you need to send chunks somewhere else.
Blow chunks.
Oh no. Okay.
Sorry, I'm in a good mood. Okay, VS Code hints, tips, and tricks of the week. So this one is for all those people who want to relax a little bit while they're coding, and I know a lot of people like to listen to music. So this one is VS Code Spotify. I didn't know if you knew, but you can actually have Spotify right in your VS Code editor with a little back and forward. You can play, shuffle, control all your music. And if you're on Windows, it does require premium, but it's got some pretty cool features in it.
Yeah, honestly, when I looked through it, I missed the feature that I would use at first, and I saw like commands in the command palette, keyboard shortcuts, and I thought, well, that's fine, but usually global keyboard shortcuts work for that. But then I saw that you can add in like the now playing song down at the bottom of the VS Code status bar, and I was sold. Because that happens to me all the time. I'll like start a Spotify radio station. I'll be like, what is this song? And right down there, you can get it. And you can do crazy things like load the lyrics. Like, yeah, it looks to be like an awesome extension.
Yeah. I don't have a premium account for Spotify, so I have not tried it yet because I'm on Windows. But I might think about it now. I know everyone's like Spotify. I'm like, but I like my Pandora. But maybe
Pandora's good too. Is there a Pandora one now? Now we gotta go look.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question, isn't it?
Pandora. No extensions found. Come on, Pandora. Or Gavin. Time to write an extension with all that free time you have.
Yeah, for sure. That's something I have plenty of. Anyways, okay. Well, last but not least, we want to thank all our awesome Patreon supporters, because without them, Audis would be paying more for this podcast and wouldn't be able to do cool stuff for ITB next week. But so our Patreon supporters are, as we mentioned earlier, funding this podcast 100%. And a thank you back to our Patreons. There's a few different things they can get, right, Eric?
That's right. So our Patreon supporters at a bronze, well, all our Patreon supporters, first of all, get a profile badge on our community website and have access to a private forum there. That's community.ordissolutions.com. If you subscribe at the bronze level or up, you also get a FORGEBOX Pro and a CFCast subscription as a perk. And remember, you can subscribe yearly as well, save a little bit of money that way.
Very cool. And there are actual levels where you get free ITB tickets and whatnot. So check out patreon.com/AuditSolutions and see if you're on a higher paid package, you may already get a free ticket included. So check that out. I know some of the really big packages get, a packet of them. So I'm not sure how many of those we have people subscribe to, but still a lot of good stuff. Okay, well, let me read through those awesome Patreon supporters one by one if I can make it through without dying, running out of breath, but I'll try. So, thank you, John Wilson from Synatrix, Don Bellamy, Eric Hoffman, David Bellinger, Dean Maunder, Gary Knight, Giancarlo Gomez, Jonathan Perrett, Mario Rodriguez, Jeffrey McGee from Sunstar Media, Yogesh Mathur, Joseph Lamry, Ben Adele, Brett DeLine, Calvin Stanton, Charlie Earhart, Dan Card, Daniel Garcia, Dedilis Nicky, Edgardo Cabezas, Jan Yannick, Jason Diger, Jeff McLean, Jeremy Adams, Jonas Erickson, Jordan Clark, Kai Koenig, Laxma Terahadi, Leon Ceramelis, Matthew Darby, Matthew Clemente, Mingo Hagen, Patrick Flynn, Ross Phillips, Scott Steinbeck, Sean Oden, Stephanie Mongi, and Stephen Klotz. All you awesome people, we thank you for spending your hard-earned money to help support Audit Solutions with this podcast and the community projects that we do. If you want to find out more, you can go to auditsolutions.com/about-us/sponsors and see some of our corporate sponsors, as well as usually all of these pretty faces. So, there we go. Whew. Any last comments from the chat here? Let's see.
Yeah. There's a big one that just came. Is today the 14th? Java just announced a free Java license. Oracle just announced a free Java license, which is something since they just pulled all theirs out and made them not free. So don't know anything about it, but there's a blog post that Charlie shared with us, and we'll go read that. But you heard it here maybe first.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to go put that at the end of the news in the show notes just for anybody who wants to see. But I guess it's just for Java 17 is what Charlie said. something like that.
Which is the new
one just released today.
The new LTS, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, is it? I always forget the numbers. I don't know if it's.
Yeah, I believe it is the new. It went 11, 14, 17. It goes every 3.
Oh, every 3. Okay, so you know more than me.
So,
but yeah,
but
so
I would not use Java 17 with Lucy or Cold Fusion. I doubt it will work, but one day soon.
Yeah. So it's the JDK is free, not the SDK. I guess we don't need the. Yeah. Anyway, interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that is new. See?
14 was not an LTS, so evidently I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh. It happens sometimes.
Happens a lot.
Okay, I guess it jumped from current and still LTS of 11. So 11
to 17, and then the next one will be 21, it says. So it doesn't follow any pattern. You're welcome.
Every year or two they change the pattern. Got it.
So
well, at least they're consistently inconsistent, so you know that you should check their consistency. So, yep, that's the world we live in. But and Charlie said he doesn't think there's any licensing difference between SDK and JDK. Okay. Well, I'm sure Charlie will read this information, consume it, and produce a awesome blog post, which we will share back with you after the conference, because next week we'll be at the conference mode, no podcast, so keep an eye out for awesome ITB content, and then following that, we'll give you an update and a recap, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you in 2 weeks, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks, you guys in chat. Bye. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.